While I was shopping, my phone rang. It was from Kevin. When I answered, I could hear Kevin's surprised voice. "You're alive, huh? Heard your house burned down." "What?" I did hear sirens earlier, but I had no idea it was my own house that was on fire. I heard a woman was severely burned. "You okay?" "Huh? I'm shopping right now. There shouldn't be anyone at home." "What? Wasn't it you who was taken away?" The tone in Kevin's voice wasn't relief but disappointment. Kevin definitely knows something about this fire. I had a gut feeling. "I've got a lot to ask you, but that'll wait. I'm gonna go check on my house." I hung up and started running. It was the home I vowed to make warm and welcoming. And now it's gone. I've been patient all this time, but if Kevin ever meant to harm me, I won't let him get away with it. Sooner or later, people like Kevin will get what's coming to them. If that's the case, I might just be the one to send him there. My fury is unstoppable now. I'm Jessica. I'm just your average, single, 40-year-old office worker. Well, maybe not so average. I'm a huge fan of John, a member of a boy band called Kiss Me Prince. I spend most of my monthly paycheck supporting him. John has this younger brother vibe with a soothing appearance. I record every show he's on, and if there's a concert, I'm at my computer 10 minutes before ticket sales begin, ready to fight for them. My family and relatives think it's silly, but only true fans can understand this euphoria. I should have been content as long as I had my favorite idol. However, this year, the last of my close friends from college got married. Looking around, I'm the only one left single. The reality I've been avoiding hit me hard. Unable to bear my loneliness any longer, I impulsively signed up for a dating app. And I decided to attend a matchmaking party hosted by the dating app. At that very first party, I was destined to meet someone special. "Is that you, John?" From a distance, there was a young man who looked just like John. As soon as the mingling started, I went straight up to him without a second thought. "Excuse me, you're John from Kiss Me Prince, right?" The man chuckled amusedly. "People often say I look like him. So, I kinda styled my hair and aura to match him." His name was Stephen Thompson and he was 35, 5 years younger than me. But he looked youthful, like he could pass for someone in his late 20s. Being a self-proclaimed fan of pop stars, I was totally smitten with Stephen. And the feeling was mutual, we were a match. He always treated me like I was one of his fans, making me feel special every date. I saw John in him and was utterly infatuated. Looking back, it seemed a bit off that such a charming guy would choose a 40-year-old like me, but at the time, I was completely oblivious. Soon enough, he formally proposed to me. Moreover, he proposed at the very spot where John had proposed to the lead actress in a TV show. I was head over heels and said yes without hesitation. However, right before we were about to make it official, Stephen showed up for a date with a high schooler. Actually, I have a son that I live with. The boy he introduced as his son, Kevin, had a different vibe from Stephen and was quite reserved. He was 17, a high school junior. He wore thick glasses and had unkempt hair. Looking a bit gloomy, he kept his head down and didn't make eye contact with me. "I should have told you earlier, Jessica. I'm sorry." His apology seemed so genuine, mirroring John's style, that it tugged at my maternal instincts. "It's all right." I was totally lovesick. Then I overheard Kevin muttering under his breath. "Another old hag." I couldn't believe my ears. "What?" He said it so naturally that I thought I must have misheard. I tried to ask Kevin again, but Stephen cut me off. "Kevin seems happy about having a new mom. Thanks for being there." Stephen and I talked about the wedding right there. Eventually, we decided to get married. I had been living in a single-story house with lots of empty rooms, so I asked him to move in. To be more precise, the rooms weren't exactly empty, they were filled with tons of fan merchandise. But now, I get to live with my real-life idols. I decided to leave all my precious merchandise back at my parents' house. It was a major decision for me. as I carefully packed away my beloved Kiss Me Prince fan merchandise into boxes to send to my parents' house. I vowed to focus on building a warm home, putting aside my fan life for a while. When Stephen and Kevin moved in, I thought our happy family life as a trio was about to start, but that wasn't the case. Stephen often said he was swamped with work and would stay over at his office 2 or 3 times a week. That left gloomy Kevin and me at home. Kevin rarely made eye contact or spoke to me. He hardly ever went out except for high school, spending most of his time locked in his room playing video games. Yet, during meals, he'd mumble just loud enough for me to hear complaints like, "The meat is tough," or "This can't be called cooking." I get that kids will be kids, but I was concerned that a high school junior like Kevin was always gaming and not focusing on his studies or career planning. One night, when Stephen returned home late, I tried to discuss it with him. "Have you talked to Kevin about his future plans?" Stephen replied with an air of annoyance. "I'm leaving it up to Kevin. He should do what he wants." I told Stephen I hadn't seen any signs of Kevin job hunting or studying. But Stephen wasn't receptive. "Look, Jessica, can't you see? It's late, I just got home. I'm beat. Can you not add to my stress by bringing up pointless stuff?" Even if Stephen's tired, isn't he worried about his own child's future? Why am I, someone who was once a stranger to Kevin, the only one worried? I felt like that, but I didn't voice it out any further. It saddened me how Stephen, who once treated his fans so warmly, was now treating me like I was a nuisance. Then one day, Kevin unexpectedly brought a girl home. She's a quiet-looking girl wearing glasses just like Kevin. I honestly thought he wouldn't be popular, but maybe she's his girlfriend now? After eating and drinking in the living room, they whispered to each other for a while and then left the house again. Honestly, it made me more nervous than them. Until recently, I never even considered becoming a mother. Now, I wonder if I'll have to give the talk about the birds and the bees to these teenagers. My mind was full of such thoughts. So when they peacefully left, I felt a huge relief. From the second-floor window, I quietly watched Kevin and the girl walk away together. That's when I noticed her. Through the fence of the neighboring house, there was a woman glaring at me. I was so terrified that I froze on the spot. The woman then disappeared behind the fence. I wanted to consult with Stephen right away, but he didn't come home that night. Just thinking about the woman's gaze from earlier scared me, and I had a hard time falling asleep. Maybe it was the stress, but I caught a bad cold the next day. I dragged my tired body to work, did household chores while Kevin complained, and when I finally laid down at night, Stephen came home. I sat up, intending to discuss the woman I saw during the day. But as soon as Stephen saw the serious look on my face, he frowned. "Is it another complaint about Kevin?" "It's not a complaint. By the way, it seems like Kevin has a girlfriend now." At that, Stephen smiled smugly. For a moment, his smile, which reminded me of John's, comforted me. But that was until I heard Stephen's next words. "Well, he is my son after all. I did teach him all the tricks to woo easy girls." "Easy girls?" I echoed his words, and Stephen quickly added. "No, I just told him some tips on how to charm a girl he likes." He then gently patted my head. "Thanks for always working hard for me. I appreciate it." When we were dating, I used to find such gestures endearing. However, now I couldn't help but doubt. Does he think I'm an easy girl too? Was I just played? But for what reason? I'm just an office worker, not like I make big bucks or have any significant assets. After Stephen took a bath, I double-checked his wallet just to be safe, but I didn't find any suspicious receipts. Still, for some reason, I had this bad gut feeling, and my suspicion towards Stephen grew. In the end, I never got to talk to him about that woman. When I woke up the next morning, Stephen had already gone to work. As I was heading downstairs to make breakfast, I smelled the lovely aroma of sizzling sausages coming from the kitchen. This hasn't happened since we got married. To my surprise, when I entered the kitchen, Kevin was preparing breakfast for me. Sausages, fried eggs, salad, and some yogurt. He had even prepared some coffee for me. "Isn't this something? What brought this on?" Kevin replied, avoiding eye contact and speaking softly. You've been feeling under the weather, right? Thought I'd make you some breakfast, that's all. It was the first time I felt a warm gesture from Kevin. I'm touched. Thank you. Embarrassed or something, Kevin ignored me and dunked the frying pan in the sink. Seems like he wasn't gonna do the dishes, but I'll take what I can get. I'm off to school. With that, Kevin grabbed his bag and headed out the door. Relishing the moment, I sat down at the dining table. Any homemaker knows the significance of even a simple meal made with care. Planning to enjoy every bite, I reached for the coffee first but accidentally knocked over the glass in my excitement. All the coffee Kevin poured for me was spilled all over the table. Oh my, I'm such a klutz! I felt a bit bad, but my spirits weren't dampened. I quickly wiped the table and after finishing the meal, felt refreshed. Right. I need to go grocery shopping. We're out of detergent, maybe I'll walk to the discount store a bit further away. I decided to walk to a supermarket further than I usually would. On my way, I passed a fire truck, which made me feel a bit uneasy. I hope whatever house it's heading to gets the fire out safely. With those thoughts, I went into the grocery store, and my phone vibrated. It was a call from Kevin. When I answered, I could hear Kevin's surprised voice. You're alive, huh? Alive? What's he talking about? As I was pondering this, Kevin dropped a bombshell. Heard your house has burned down. Saw it on social media. What? I did hear sirens earlier, but I had no idea it was my own house that was on fire. I heard a woman was severely burned. You okay? What could it be? There was something cold and distant in his voice, mocking even. It wasn't like the caring Kevin I had seen earlier. Huh? I'm shopping right now. There shouldn't be anyone at home. What? Wasn't it you who was taken away? Then I remember Steven's comment. I did teach him all the tricks to woo easy girls. Kevin definitely knows something about this fire. I had a gut feeling. I've got a lot to ask you, but that'll wait. I'm gonna go check on my house. I hung up and started running. I hailed a cab, and when I arrived, my house was completely burned down. A crowd had gathered in front of the wreckage. A neighbor, Margaret, approached me frantically. Oh, thank God you're okay. They took a young girl in a school uniform to Hillside Emergency Hospital. Do you know her? I didn't have the confidence to answer that question. The only person I could think of was the girl Kevin was with the other day. The police stopped me. They wanted to talk later since there might be foul play. For now, I got into another cab and headed to Hillside Emergency Hospital. As I was swayed in the back seat, tears started to well up in my eyes. It was the home I vowed to make warm and welcoming. And now it's gone. And Kevin's attitude on the phone earlier is still bothering me. If he intended to let my guard down with superficial kindness this morning, only to harm me later, I'm never going to be fooled again. Sooner or later, people like Kevin will get what's coming to them. If that's the case, I might just be the one to send him there. My fury is unstoppable now. At the hospital, I tried to explain my situation and asked for a visit, but they kept insisting it's private information, and I wasn't allowed to see the young girl who was brought from my house. Helplessly, I sat down in the lobby when a frantic woman rushed in. Where's Sarah? I saw on the news that she's in critical condition. It's okay. The news got it wrong. She's got burns on her face and limbs, but her life isn't in danger. I was taken aback. I knew this woman. She's the one who had glared at me from over the fence that day. Noticing me, she pulled out her business card and handed it to me. My name is Michelle Thompson. I'm Steven's wife and Kevin and Sarah's mother. Shocked, I blurted out. But I'm Steven's wife! Michelle tried to explain, but she seemed to prioritize visiting her daughter. Jessica, please come with us. In the hospital room, the girl who had come to my house that day as Kevin's girlfriend lay there. As soon as she saw me, she burst into tears. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. As Michelle comforted her, Sarah, sobbing, began to recount the events. Turns out, Sarah wasn't Kevin's girlfriend, she was his younger sister. She'd always looked up to her quiet but kind-hearted older brother since they were kids. But at one point, he changed. Apparently, he learned from his father how to wrap gullible women around his finger. After that, Kevin hardly ever came home. It was because he was living with me, but he had told Sarah he was living with a convenient woman. On the rare occasions he did come home, Sarah could only watch as he constantly spouted derogatory comments about women, wishing he'd go back to his old self. "How can I get my kind big brother back?" When she asked Kevin, he replied, "I want you to set fire to Dad's mistress Jessica's house." Being influenced by Kevin, Sarah scouted out my house as I was the alleged mistress. That's why she came to my house that day. After much hesitation, thinking it was for her brother, she went through with it. But after setting the fire, she immediately felt the weight of her guilt and called the police. And to save me, who was supposedly sleeping inside, she broke the window, went in, and got injured. "Wait, what do you mean supposedly sleeping inside?" To my question, Sarah replied through her tears, "Kevin was going to put sleeping pills in your coffee." I felt a chill run down my spine. If I hadn't spilled the coffee, I probably wouldn't be okay now. Michelle scolded Sarah in a state of panic and then apologized to me. "What a stupid thing to do! You could have killed someone. Jessica, I'm so sorry. It's due to our lack of supervision as parents. I can't believe what Kevin and Sarah did." Talking about that, I began, addressing the concern that had been nagging at me. "Legally, Kevin was going to be my child now? We decided to get married." At this, Michelle hesitantly took out a piece of paper from her bag. It was Stephen's marriage certificate. Indeed, Michelle's name was written there. "My husband had previously deceived another woman in the same way. He must have deceived you." I realized she was right. So the engagement should be invalid due to bigamy. The unbelievable reality made me dizzy. "Why would Stephen do such a thing?" Michelle let out a deep sigh. Deep wrinkles on her forehead revealed years of hardships. "Jessica, by any chance, are you a fan of John from Kiss Me Prince? My husband is oddly confident and obsessed with the idea that he looks like John. He mimics John's fashion, hairstyle, and gestures and gets a kick out of approaching and flirting with his fans. He probably can't help wanting to be adored by women like an idol. I've had enough of it." At that moment, the door to the room swung open, and Stephen, looking pale, entered. Seeing me and Michelle together, Stephen looked caught. I glared at him, anger evident in my eyes, and said, "So, we were strangers all along. You said you'd be staying at work, but you went back to your wife's house." Stephen rambled on, but I wasn't listening. "I'm gonna claim compensation, including for the house your son burned down. Since we're not related, you can't claim familial immunity." Grabbing my bag, I stormed out of the room. Behind me, I could hear Michelle and Stephen arguing. I vowed not to let this end so easily and returned to my parents' house. Later on, Kevin was arrested by the police. I had requested that Sarah not be arrested, so she was able to return home after being discharged from the hospital. However, scars remained on Sarah's face from the burns. The emotional scars inflicted by her brother might never heal. She now has to live with the guilt and the scars on her face, so I thought there was no need for additional punishment. On the other hand, I intend to have Kevin properly penalized by the authorities. Kevin is turning 18 soon. He's likely to be tried as an adult under the law. As I was preparing the claim for compensation, someone knocked at the door. It was Stephen. "Jessica, I'm truly sorry about Kevin. Can't we start over? I want you to support me again. Can you give me your fan energy?" "Can you give me your fan energy?" was John's signature phrase during his concerts. Before, I would have been easily swayed. But now, it just seemed like mockery. "You're not an idol. You're just a 35-year-old man who thinks he looks like one. If you don't realize it, you're gonna keep embarrassing yourself." As I said this, Steven's face turned red with a mix of shame and anger, and he lunged at me. "What's your problem? You probably just saw me as a substitute for John anyway." I can't say I was entirely without fault. But Steven, despite manipulating the situation, acted as if I was the one to blame. "That's right. And I realized, you're neither John nor my dream prince. You're just a delusional middle-aged man." I handed Steven the prepared compensation claim. "The recent arson was the result of your flawed upbringing. You're gonna take full responsibility. I'll add to the claim for the time you deceived me. If not, I'll sue you for marriage fraud." Steven came to me begging to get back together, but instead, he was hit with a counterclaim for alimony and was utterly defeated. The always self-centered Steven, in his disappointment, left like that. Perhaps the threat of suing him for marriage fraud worked, because after that, Steven transferred an amount greater than the usual alimony in one lump sum. This must have drained Steven's savings. Word has it that he was also divorced by Michelle. For a while, it'll be tough for him to maintain that idol-like hairstyle and fashion due to being broke. As for Kevin, he was tried as an adult under the penal code and was sentenced to prison. During the trial, with his obstinate attitude showing no signs of remorse, he seemed to blame all his crimes on me. That probably didn't sit well with the jury, leading to an even heavier sentence than usual. Of course, he was expelled from high school. Kevin's wrongdoings became well known in the community, and it's unlikely he can continue to live there after he gets out. In the evening, I bought a few flashlights and headed to the park. Fashionably dressed girls were there, waving their hands and glow sticks, eagerly waiting. Today was the much-awaited Kiss Me Prince concert day. I pulled out my old fan merchandise and resumed being an active fan. Going to concerts with female friends I got close to through fandom activities is now the highlight of my life. Having an idol out of reach is what makes it exciting. Vowing never to make the same mistake again, I was off to the concert venue.